welcome. This is Corey Angelot here with Aaron Butler and a very special guest that we're going to be interviewing today, Marja West. And apparently Marja is named after a berry. She just informed us. Very important knowledge for the whole audience to know, but she's also a great individual. Welcome to the End of Slavery Summit. We're going to be talking about Marja West, and she is a trauma-based mind control deactivator, author, non-guru lineage spiritual teacher, way shower, divine love agent provocateur, medical, intuitive, and master energy healing facilitator. Wow, what a beautiful bio, by the way. Website is lovetruthandbeauty.com. Well, that explains it. Welcome, Marja, to the End of Slavery Summit. And we're going to be talking about how to exit the matrix and unslave yourself, which is a really important topic in today's day and age of, well, we have to figure out what work we have to do individually and then what work we have to do collectively to change the world. And you have a unique perspective about this. So share a little bit more about yourself and what we're going to be talking about.
Okay. I consider myself to be the grandmother of One Great Work Network. I'm in my 60s and I've been at this great work and disseminating information since I was in my late teens and 20s. So I've been at this a long time, and it has been a rough road because we have so many distractions within what I call the matrix. And so the matrix, what I discovered early on is that there was the world and there's the planet. Well, the world isn't the planet. The world is actually an inversion. It's a satanic inversion of the planet and what I call the true quantum field creation field universe. And the way I discovered this was during my hellacious, horrific, violent, traumatic childhood, where I was raised by a man-hating psycho who did not want to have children and was an immigrant and very upset about her life. I learned that in order to, quote unquote, escape that world that she created, I needed to get in touch with nature. I needed to engage my imagination, my psychic abilities, the sixth sense, in order to raise my own frequency to escape that hell until I was old enough to get the fuck out. So, and these are things that we learn by default because as a small child, or even before that, at our conception, perhaps, because unless we were gifted and conceived by parents who were awake and did the great work and conceived you on purpose outside of the matrix in the true quantum field universe, we're fucked because we are basically scripted from the moment we are conceived to be slaves within the matrix. And we're following scripts based on our DNA, based on our upbringing, based on who our parents were, based on our lineages, based on our indoctrination centers that we're exposed to or not exposed to, based on pop culture, the media, on and on and on and on. And so me growing up in the 60s and 70s, I was just impacted on and on with this divide and conquer between the masculine and the feminine, between men and women, between white and black, and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't feel it. It's like, this is wrong. Like, what is going on here? Because I was so in tune to nature and pretending I was a fairy because, that was part of my escape, was to use my imagination and, really feel the divinity within when I was outdoors and enjoying the sun, moon, and stars and realizing there's something funky going on here. And one of my earliest memories was watching my mom upset with the boob tube. And it was some kind of political funeral. And I walked around, I probably was 2 or 3, and I just pulled the plug. It's like, why watch it? If you're going to be upset by it, I don't understand that, And so anyways, that was one of my earliest memories about really being conscious about watching someone in my life and having their attention be hijacked by the Matrix. And this is how the Matrix keeps us asleep. It's by media, the television, whatever is going on that you are witnessing. We live in a perception managed reality, up to the point where we're starting to get the sort of rustling of impatience, the rustling of frustration, which I feel are, sort of the precursors to starting to wake yourself up from the collective coma that everybody is in the Matrix, because the world is not the planet. The Matrix is not the universe. It is literally a satanic inversion where this perception managed reality is only 5 senses when we have 7. We have our 6th sense. We also have our 7th sense, which is our sense of care and compassion. Okay. It is the divine masculine principle of gifting, giving, and the divine feminine principle of receiving. It's the passive and the action. And so we're flip sides of the same coin, which is why it's so easy to be distracted by the Matrix, because most people are mesmerized. They're mesmerized either by the outer screen of what's going on, or they're mesmerized by the inner screen of all the bullshit going on in their heads, your worries, your head trips, your traumas, your judgments, your criticisms, your acerbic commentary, often about what's going on here. And so when humanity has got that going on, and it has been going on for millennia, this is not a thing that's happened because of technology. No. It has to do with being mesmerized by whatever is upsetting you, whatever has your attention. And if you don't see that you're being hijacked, you're not going to know that you're asleep. So most people in the Matrix are sleeping zombies. They believe that whatever CNN or Fox or whatever you're watching is telling you is reality. And most people have not traveled outside of their hometowns to even figure out that, oh my God, there's a planet. There's this huge thing that's like going on. You mean there's more? Yes, there is. And that's one of the things that I advocate for people is to, get out and travel. Get out and travel. See the planet. The planet is beautiful. It's huge. There's a lot of areas that are like not habitated by cities and by technology and by stupid. And so that's just kind of like one of my things. And I think that's what I find irritating for me. And I know for decades, 20, maybe 30 years, I gnashed where I would just get so pissed off that people were just sucking this up and being spectators and information receivers only, and spectating on their favorite celebrities. Oh my God, and so when I was raising children in the 80s, my kids were not allowed to watch TV. We had experiences, okay? We did things. We traveled. We checked out all sorts of beautiful nature spots. But, I know that there are a lot of people who were part of that generation in the 80s, and they grew up on MTV and, all the tits and ass, and let's just sexualize everything. And it's even more sexualized now. Why? Because that's what they want. The powers that want to be, that's what I call them. The Satanic Cabal, whatever you want to fucking call them. This is exactly what they want. They want us fighting each other. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is activate some mind control program, and the human slaves lap that shit up. And then they go to war and they start these discussion groups, and it becomes a totalitarian pissing match to find out who's more righter than who. And I just, I used to get caught up in that and try to stop all this stuff. But, part of what's happened for me is that you get forced to walk your talk. Like, I can talk this, but if I'm mesmerized by shit going on in the Matrix, say like Devin Oinson, the COVID, as I call it, if I get mesmerized by that shit, I am sound asleep just like everybody else. I'm not offering any solutions because I'm being a dipshit. You know, you can't get caught up. Is it good to know about shitstems like government is slavery and our bullshit money system and all of that? Yes, it is. Because if you want to co-create a different universe and get the fuck out of the Matrix, you have to know what you're dealing with. And if you don't know how it works, you're going to be a tool for them, guaranteed, because you're not going to know the fucking difference. But I have a lot of young people coming at me, they're like, you don't talk about government being slavery. It's like, honey, okay, I started talking about that shit in the 70s. All right. I'm too old for that stuff. You take the torch, you start talking about it. You can make videos about it, have your own blogs, but don't get on my ass, because what I'm doing is I'm endeavoring to up level and really teach people the next stage, the next frontier, because waking up isn't just about learning that government is slavery and all the shit stems and how that shit works and deciding what you want to align with. No, you have to learn how to wield your reality. You have to learn how to mold reality. You can't mold reality in the Matrix. You have to mold reality from your awakened state outside of the Matrix in the true quantum field creation field universe. That's what you got to do. And the way you do that, you have to own your attention. And people go, well, what does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? It means you have to know that every human has 3 attention centers. 2 are basically hijacked and run by the Matrix. The outer screen of reality and the shit that goes on in your head. This is the inner screen. So it's the outer screen and the inner screen. Your awakened state is in the center screen, where you have the awareness and the wherewithal to witness not only the shit going on in your outer screen, but witness the shit going on here and realize that you have to be at the helm. Otherwise, if the Matrix owns your outer and inner screen, you're a fucking sleeping zombie, and you are just, you're playing your role. You're playing the script. You're playing the script as a tool for the Matrix, thinking that you're actually part of the truth and freedom movement. No, you're not. You're not. And I get attacked for saying that shit, but it's true. Because if you can't wield your reality and you're barely getting by, you haven't figured it out, okay? You're just following the script that, I can't create. Oh, I'm a helpless victim. And in the Matrix, as you know, the Matrix and the powers that want to be, they fucking weaponize woundology. The victim consciousness. This is what's taken over. Oh, I'm a victim, poor me, I can't do shit. No, you can't do shit because your thought quality is fucked up, and you're letting the inner screen rule you by these assholes that are telling you, oh, they're there. Let's just give you reparations so you don't have to do shit. You don't have to activate your divine masculine and take any action or take responsibility. And that's the whole thing about really exiting the Matrix, is you have to take responsibility about where your attention is, what matters to you, and be able to take that information and be able to create your own reality outside of the Matrix. Because what we're all doing is we are creating our own layer of the true quantum field creation field universe. Like right now, based on what you two have created in this beautiful event, we are intersecting. My layer of the universe is intersecting with yours and yours, Aaron. And pretty soon, this whole program is going to be intersecting with hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions and millions and millions and millions of other layers of the universe. And this is it. We each play our part in creating content, creating materials, educating, downloading, uploading, uplifting, inspiring all these humans that are like on the edge because they know something is way fucked up. And they know that some handout is not going to do it for them. It's not sustainable because you sell yourself and you go to sleep. And that's the sad thing, is that I see so many people just content in sticking their head in the sand with their asses up in the air. And that's the kind of stuff I know for me. When I see that stuff and I witness things in the matrix, I got to wake my ass up, because I know I'm going down a rabbit hole that I'm going to eventually have to pull myself out of, because my righteousness in the past has gotten me into a lot of trouble. And what we have to learn is that we're each here from our awakened state to move formless into form. Okay, does that make sense? That's what we're here to do. And we're here to do it in our own unique way. And if that includes outing the shitstums, so be it. I've done it, and I'm glad I did it. It doesn't mean that a lot of people listen to me. I know that in my reality, when I was younger, I would start talking about this stuff, people would just leave. I mean, I would end up speaking at these places and people just walk out or tell me to, stop smoking my pot or something, or accuse me of other things. So you have to be able to learn to take a punch, basically, because a lot of people are not going to like what you have to say. They're not going to want to hear what you have to say because it's too upsetting, And for myself, working with survivors of trafficking all these years, I've been to some very shitty, scary places in this world. I've visited rape camps. It's not good. It isn't good. And this shit exists because people just cut off. They turn off. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to believe it. They say it's fake news. They say I'm crazy. I'm just making it up, and it's like, you have to learn to not give a shit about whether you get any agreement or not. And, that it's tough. It's tough. And I know I spent many, many, many years in the fetal position, or, just going, oh, fuck, how do I help turn this around? And so one of the things that I learned to do is utilize my triggers, all of my traumas, my PTSDs, I call them pains, traumas, suffering, and dramas, as golden gateways and invitations to wake the fuck up and get back in the center, get back into my center screen. And rather than going into la la land about what I'm witnessing, or going into la la land here and go, oh, it's fucking hopeless and I'm never going to do this. I have too much trauma. I can't. To get clear about what it is that I want to create. What's the kind of universe that I want to live in? Who are the people that are like in it? What are our beliefs? What are our values? And it's funny, when I work with folks, a lot of people don't even know what their values are. They don't even know what they believe because they're so scripted in following this trajectory within the matrix. And the matrix wants to try and, well, it doesn't try, it actually succeeds, defines who and what we are, what we can and can't do, and people are good with it. People are good with it. They like their suffering. And so now we've got this weaponized woundology where everybody's fucking offended by something. It's like, give me a break. I mean, it's just, I can't even, sometimes when I witness shit in the matrix, I think to myself, I cannot fucking believe it has gotten this bad. And that, I use that as a trigger to wake myself up and exit the matrix, because I don't want to support that train. I don't want to get on that train. I really want to instill and activate the remembrance within human beings ready that they are here for a reason, and to intend to discover that reason. Oh
Yeah,
my god, I've just yacked.
Wow. Wow.
that was
Yeah,
amazing.
that was
Go ahead,
powerful.
Aaron.
Well, I mean, just I mean, how do you add to that? I whenever I think of the world, you know, it's so easy in the truth community. You know, a lot of people, when they call you crazy, they say, "Oh, well, that's the reality you live in," and trying to explain someone to someone that there has been a whole system created just for this. Instead of world, I like to think of it as like WHIRL, like world. It's a whirl. It's just this
Yes.
spinning
Yes.
vortex, and it's sucking these people in. And they see the outer screen, as you call it, and they want to change the outer screen, or they take it inside, and then they're looking at
Yeah.
the inner
You
screen. And
can't change the outer screen. It's a done
right,
fucking deal.
yes,
It's based on flawed thinking, flawed feelings, a flawed approach. It's based on slavery. Whatever
yes,
you're witnessing, unless you intended to create it, sorry, I'm sorry. People are delusional. It's like they're not willing to face the fact that, when you're talking about the power of now, it's a done deal. The leading edge of what's yet to be manifested, okay, is not yet seen. I mean, that's just as real as it can be. And that is not, people get hijacked by what they're witnessing, because if they witness it, if they see it, then it must be so. And if you
right,
can't see it, then it must not be so. But then, when you realize that what we can actually sense visually is just like one little iota sliver of the totality of reality. I mean, I want to smack people when people just get so ingrained in their limitations and their definitions that are like, a lot of people are defined by things they didn't even choose it. Well, that's just how we do it. That's just how we think. It's like, stop it. I can't. I can't do it. And I do that with I've done that with my stepkids, where they would say ridiculous shit, and I was always just maybe a little harsh, sarcastic, over the top, and I would just go, "What are you? Stop it! You're infinite, loving awareness and consciousness, having a human experience, here to move formless into form, kiddo. Stop." And they're like, "Okay." And so they've heard it enough and I try to be funny about it, because I know I can be a real asshole. And a lot of that assholiness, I think, is that I've just been on the planet so long. It's like, come on, people, do it. Let's do it now. We can do this, So, anyways, yeah.
well, it totally echoes into people. And obviously you said that it's easy to look out on the outer screen and to see all these injustices and to see
Yeah.
all of the things, we have experiences. So then these things on the outer screen, they project to the inner screen, and they just manifest in, I think you mentioned, like these looping thoughts, these looping patterns. And there's so many people that they take it internally, and they think by being a victim that it's not egocentric, but as a matter of fact, it
It's that
totally is
bizarre form
totally
of
egocentric.
narcissism.
Yes.
I mean, it's kooky. And the Matrix has designed this
Yes.
for us to fail. So they're banking on victim consciousness. They're
Right.
banking on that polarity of victim perpetrator. They love it. They love it.
Yeah. Like the slave who wants to be in the plantation, and the slave
Yeah,
master who wants to slave on the
exactly.
plantation.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a perfect scenario. Like, wow, okay, well, they fit each other. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would hope that you would want the opposite in the case of freedom, where you are attached to freedom or God or nature as your actual master or your actual authority. and or your parents, yourself included, as part of it, because it's naturally there as an authority. It's not some people millions of miles away with, special uniforms and titles and all this stuff. It's very different, but we connect ourselves to that source, which has always been there and is necessary for us. And as opposed to the source that we see over time, constantly, over and over again, is not helping humanity. And so when you say, like, where do you put your attention? What I think of is, are you paying attention?
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of people are just paying way too much attention to other people's shit. They're paying way too much attention to the shit they don't like. So much so, they know they don't like it, but they don't know what they like. They don't know what their values are. They don't even know nature exists. I know people who haven't left their houses since you know what. And it just blows me away. I was on a Zoom call not that long ago again, and there's 4 people on the panel wearing a fucking mask. It's just like, what is wrong with you people? And I swear to God, it took all my energy, literally, because I got triggered. I wanted to kick some ass. I wanted to start shit and raise my hand and go, excuse me, like, what the fuck is wrong with you here? We're on a Zoom call. Why the fuck do you have a zombie mask? I wanted to go there. And it was like, step away from the vehicle, move along. You can't go there. But my attention was hijacked for a bit with that shit. And that's some of the shit that I have to work at. And here's the thing, being awake, spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment, it is not a one-off event. Waking yourself up and extricating yourself so that you're not in the outer screen or the inner screen, but in your center screen, observing both. It's not a one-off event. It is constant. I snooze all the time. I snooze and I think I'm awake. And then what happens when you start practicing this is you actually catch yourself and then realize, oh shit, I was just sound asleep again. So it's so easy to get caught up by that outer screen or the inner screen. You don't even know it's going on because it's so automated. And then,
like an illusion.
It requires radical honesty within yourself. It really, really, really does. And so, I mean, I teach this stuff to my survivors because it's not just about deactivating trauma. It's about learning to wield reality and exit yourself from the slave mentality, the slave world of the Matrix, and be able to compose your reality. And you can only do that if you own your attention. And so a lot of the spiritual awakening stuff is really attention management. It's like, what are you focusing in on? Are you focusing in on a shitstorm? Or are you focusing in on your life and what you want to co-create with the universe?
Ecosystem.
What you want to give back to the universe to up-level the rest of humanity. I like the win-win. I want a win-win. So for me, it's really imperative that I don't pay attention to the Matrix, the shit show. So
well, isn't the goal to win-win, right? Because everything's in harmony. That's order.
Absolutely. And here's the thing is that when you start owning your attention and you are primarily operating from your center screen, what I have experienced time and time again is the cooperation of the true quantum field creation field universe and the chains of events that I used to try to control when I was, following my role as whatever in the Matrix and following the automated script that I thought I had created for myself. Outside of the Matrix, the chain of events, amazing. I mean, it's like everything just shows up. There's a natural order to your life that manifests and materializes. And you're just like, wow, this is way cool. And then what happens is that you get to waltz in and out of the matrix, and the matrix and all of its whatever's in the matrix ends up being your bitch. I mean, it actually becomes a cooperating component in your life. Because, I mean, what is waltzing in and out of the matrix? It's your consciousness. It's your consciousness. The inversion of the true quantum field creation field universe into the matrix is based on our consciousness. And I mean, when you get that, like, I just remember fucking around with this. I was doing some kind of transcendental meditation, and I didn't really like the people that I had signed up with, and they were all going to go to lunch or something, and I declined. And I just decided, I need to, there's some kind of like, I felt like I was pushing up through some cellophane veil that wouldn't let me. And I realized when you start making the shift into owning your awareness, there is a visceral what is it? It's like this film that you actually push through and it breaks. It's weird. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about in some form, where and then everything changes. Like, I realize when I waltz in on the matrix, like, the matrix has a certain artificiality to it. And the true quantum field creation field universe, the planet, and you can be on the planet, be in the planet vibe, and be in a big city as well with all concrete and all that kind of stuff. But the colors are alive. It's quite fantastic. I mean, it's magical. Nature is magical. And what I love about nature is it doesn't give two fucking shits about what you think and what you feel, because it's going to do what it's going to do. And so, it's like very impartial. And when we start up leveling our thought quality, which is one of the most important things that you can do, when you start waltzing in and out of the matrix and own more of your attention, operate more of your life from your center screen, you're going to notice that when a thought pops in that's fucked up, like, oh God, I'm a loser, or I can't do this, or whatever it is, you're going to feel the pull to correct it, because that's what you need to do. In other words, whatever it is that you are intending to create outside of the matrix in the true quantum field creation field universe, you have to have what I call heart, mind, body, soul coordination in order for all that to materialize. And what is it? It's thoughts, beliefs that are in alignment to your vision. What is your intention? It's feelings and emotions that are in alignment to its materialization. It's actions in alignment to its materialization. If you're thinking you're a big fucking loser, I mean, you're sabotaging your own intentions. It's not going to happen, because those two realities cannot exist in the true quantum field creation field universe. You got one foot in the matrix and the other foot outside of it. It's going to rip you apart.
And that's why evil always fails, or at least it contributes to what we can deem as evil, right? Because it causes chaos. So like a mental slave who thinks, oh, I'm meant to be a slave and this is a natural condition for me, they make their whole life out to be that belief system.
Absolutely.
But once they live it out, once it's lived out, people realize the consequences and say, well, this is not a good idea anymore. And I think what you were kind of saying is along the lines of conscience too, right? Which is learning how to discern. Learn to discern, as Tobias Lars would say, to understand right versus wrong, so you know what's always right. Same thing with eating food, like, oh, what's better for me, what's not. And when you talk about nature, like, this whole topic goes deeply into what I'm going to talk about in my presentations and such soon, which is the whole idea of what nature is. I mean, it's really powerful, because my message is nature is the answer. And I think when we're talking about nature, we're using it in the context of natural nature to be frankly, about it, because anything that's unnatural is basically an inversion or an
Yes.
attempt to invert.
Yes.
So
An attempt.
so our nature
Yes.
may be different from their nature, which is the city or the government, or, you know, and they use the word naturalization on top of that. Isn't that funny?
That is so fucking scary to me. God. Yeah, step away. Yeah.
There's a good, like, I don't know, just as thinking about it, because, you know, a lot of people don't really understand the satanic aspect of things. But you mentioned that the Matrix is a satanic inversion of the true quantum field creation field universe, and it seems a lot of this, you know, the inversion inside the Matrix. You mentioned just these thoughts. You know, a lot of people, there's these positive thoughts, oh, I'm doing good. Negative thoughts, oh, I'm a loser, I'm doing terrible. And the true scale of that is actually the quantum field, the real quantum field of nature. And, you know, because the inversion, the matrix of everything, it's like, oh, well, you have a hard time gauging, am I really a loser, am I really not doing well, is that whole thought process based off of just these perceptions that are artificial? Or, you know, it seems like the quantum field is actually, I don't know, the real gauge of you know how someone is doing. And, you know,
Yeah, I agree.
it's a gauge of truth, is what it seems like.
I agree.
It's easy to be a loser in the matrix, you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
easy.
It's a role. It gets
It's a role.
adulated. I
Yeah.
mean, people get sitcoms for that kind of shit. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, fuck.
Yeah, they really
Yeah, I mean, they
capitalize
really
on
do.
that.
We adulate it. We love our psychopaths. We love our, you know, fucked up, dysfunctional, psychodramatic, unconscious
Well,
relationships.
and to
We
be
love it.
and just I want to mention, like, it also, like you said, they play on both sides too, however. So, like, look at the new
Absolutely.
age, right? The
Yeah.
new age will
Yeah.
say, well,
Oh
everything is
God.
good and everything is
Uh,
spiritual. Now that's the complete opposite of
Uh,
everything is doom and gloom.
It's funny. I have a lot of experience in the new age community because as an energy healer, and you know, I like the woo woo stuff, but you know, I have a science background. Okay. So I am not subject to a lot of like that kind of stuff. Like I can't go there. So I'll get invited to things and then they'll start hearing me talk and they realize, oh shit, she is so not one of us. And I'm not. And I'm not one of those fake feminists too. So I get invited to goddess entrepreneurial, you know, and all the tantra stuff because I teach a lot about conscious sexuality from a place of the divide and conquer between the masculine, feminine energies. We start there, going into the heteros gamos of that marriage of the masculine, feminine energies, the marriage of doing and being, active stillness, the defense principle, the passive, all of that shit. And, you know, people want to talk sex. I mean, I'm from California. So it's like in the Bay Area, I call it the San Francisco sexual Bay Area because on every street corner, there's an enlightened, self-proclaimed tantric master who is going to take you to see the Paramatman light. I want to fucking throw up. And I would
yeah.
I'd call these people out, you know, because at the end of the day, they're fucking pickup psycho artists. That's what they are. And all they want to do is get some woman who has not done her inner work, who is still pining for male attention in lieu of her own inner esteem. And, you know, here comes this pickup artist that's gonna, like, you know, tell her this, that, and the other, and she fucking falls for it. And I work with these women, and when they start really seeing the sort of entrancement of the sort of you know, script of the sex kitten, of the pickup artist, the pimp, all that kind of stuff, their minds get blown because it starts from get-go. It starts from our conception. It starts with mommy and daddy. I call our family of origin our first cult experience.
Yep.
Because you got to work that shit out, because our parents are always going to mirror to you a template, and it's an unconscious template for how relationships work, how the masculine and feminine work, how men and women, come together or don't come together, how we destroy each other, how we lie to each other. And so, that is one of the templates, if you will, of mass mind control, mass trauma-based mind control. It's funny because I was talking to a woman, and she was trying to get me basically to say, well, we've got our garden variety trauma of our family of origin. And, in many ways, yeah, maybe we weren't trafficked and chained to a bed or, chained to a tree to service, but we still have this dynamic that if our parents didn't have their shit together, we're ruined. And that's part of the great work, is to just do the great work to excavate all that shit, because it is mind control, so that you can reactivate and activate your wholeness. Okay. And it is painstaking work, as I'm sure you both know. And we're not exempt from it. We're not exempt. No one gets to bypass that. Of course, there's a lot of spiritual bypassing of all that, in New Age bullshit. Oh, they did the best they can. You know what? Some of them did not do the best they could. Okay. My mother did not do the best she could.
Yeah.
Okay. She was a fucking insane psycho. And, I was lucky to get the fuck out. I would be dead.
Well,
And
I really like your energy, and I just want to say thank you for your presence and sharing everything. I mean, I have to thank you for that.
Oh, you are most welcome.
And so, if you don't mind, I kind of want to ask a question along that line of action, though, because
Yeah.
so you said you've sat down before and you've really thought things, how you can shift things, and I've done the same thing, and I ask a lot of people on the summit this question too. What do you think is needed external action wise? A lot of people talk about internal action. I think it's really important, and that leads to external action. But do you think there's any need for a movement or a collective action as such to make a great change of awakening in the world?
I think that is essentially what we're all doing. And certainly doing events like this, and also being on platforms like One Great Work Network, doing our own thing in terms of creating content, disseminating that information. I mean, I have been teaching online since 2003. And I mean, it's so important. I've had a website since 1994. This is my 23rd website. And I have another YouTube channel. It's my second one, because my first one got deplatformed after 9 years. I mean, this is a shit. And but here's the thing, is that we need to do this work in a way where we share information as an invitation, not shoving it down people's throats, which is what I was doing. And what I did in doing that is I ended up sabotaging myself because of my combativeness. And then I was kind of silly and stupid, because I would do these videos and I'd be at my airport gate in, say, Munich, and I'd tell people where the fuck I was. And what happened was I got in the crosshairs of some very, very bad people. And one of the things that you don't want to do when you are taking this kind of action and being public is you want to maintain a sense of discernment, a great sense of discernment and privacy, and to do it in a way where you are basically stealth. doing your work. You can be I'm very outspoken, but it's so funny. I had 2 strikes on my new YouTube channel, and they miraculously disappeared. I don't know how the fuck, but they were overturned. I did complain, but I wasn't pushing up against anything. But all of a sudden, oh yeah, we just decided, yeah, we're just going to take them off, and you're cool, whatever. And the big change of it was I decided that what I was going to do was I was going to frame my work, love, truth, and beauty, in a way where I wasn't going to irritate the matrix, where I was going to utilize the momentum of some of the matrix platforms like social media, like all the various forums that I'm a part of. I'm a part of all these multiple communities, but I'm a lone wolf. I don't belong to any of these groups. Okay. I belong to One Great Work Network, and I'm grateful for that. I adore Mark. We go way back. But the thing is that I was, just way too much in people's faces and just being like, come on and get me. And it's like, I had to decide that is not what I want to do, because when I do that kind of thing, it gets in the way of my platform, the dissemination of what I want to do.
Right.
And what I want to do is I really want to really teach everybody how to own their attention, because that is key. It's key. You don't own your attention, you're stuck in the matrix. You're a slave forever.
Yeah. And that's an invitation.
Simple. It's deceptively simple. People dismiss it. People think that when you learn that Gooberman is slavery, that means you're woke. Well, no, you're woke to that. But unless you know how to wield your reality, I'm sorry, you're a sleeping zombie. And you're following a script of being a woke person because you've discovered suddenly that Gooberman is slavery. I mean, it's just like that is one infinitesimally small facet of the awakened human being who knows in and out what the matrix is, how it does what it does. And because you understand the workings of these shitstems, you also understand what can be created. You understand how you can align with other people who are in alignment with what it is that you're endeavoring to do, and the universe starts helping you. And so I think that these events are super, super important, because we're each affecting our layer of the universe. And the layer of the universe, true quantum field creation field universe, has all these sectors within it. My sector, your sector, your sector. And we are collaborating with one another. This is community. It really is community. And what I'm really appreciating about this community is that everybody's open. I don't feel the competition and the put downs that I do within the goddess entrepreneurial community, the quote unquote change makers and mindsets. It's like, give me a break, shut up. Or the new age communities. There's so much competition and backstabbing. And
I prove government is slavery more than you.
Yeah, they're all in the matrix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't help for us to fight each other.
And that makes them superior to everybody else. It's like, no, man, you need to eat some humble pie because you're not there. And I think that's the thing, is that each one of us, we've eaten some big shit, man. I've had my life wrecked over and over and over again because of that pushing up against. And you don't want to irritate the matrix. There are ways for you to hop onto the momentum of some of those pendulums, some of those egregores, and you turn that shit around. You turn it on a dime. I used to hate social media, and I decided, I'm going to do it differently. And I'm going to use it as really a bookmark, a placeholder for certain things. I said the same thing about YouTube. I wasn't going to do YouTube again. I decided to got on all these other things. And guess what? It's been like a whole other reality other than what I was experiencing when I was just getting in people's faces. Now it's like you're activating the divine feminine principle of receiving. And how do you receive? You give first. And that's how the true quantum field creation field universe works. You want to manifest something, you have to give first what it is you want to manifest.
Yeah,
That's
true.
what you got to do. And it mirrors back to you. And I think
that's the giving is the opposite of stealing.
Yes.
Which is the wrongdoing.
Exactly. Exactly. And talking about natural law, I mean, people like, what is that? Or talking about the trivium and the quadrivium. What? I've never heard of those, and then when they start discovering it, and they start discovering why it's been shrouded, why it is that only prep schoolers going into Ivy League colleges have access to it. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. And the powers that want to be within the matrix, they do this underhanded shit right in front of our faces. It's right there. They don't even hide it. They really don't. And people are just they're too beaten down. They're too sound asleep. They're too much in their comforts. They want instant gratification. They don't know how to delay gratification, And of course, what's one of the biggest ways to hijack our attention is through unconscious sexuality, the over-sexualizing of everything. So, I mean, it's really, really, really bizarre. We're just like, we're divvying up all this stuff. We're just separate. Instead of integrating and unifying, we're just separating. We're going here. We're fracturing. I was set to do a talk in Toronto. This was in 2017. So one of the things that I talk about is masculine, feminine 101, the basics of what is masculine energy, what's feminine energy. And before I could speak, apparently there was some kind of legislation about all the pronouns and all this shit. I mean, there's like, it was I get this, and I'm going to speak in like 15 minutes, and they hand me this shit, and I'm going, and they want me to sign it. It's like, oh, hell the fuck no. I'm not signing this. Like, what the fuck? It was like 92, maybe 94 pronouns. I nearly had a nervous breakdown. I'm like, I'm not signing this. And they go, well, then you can't speak. And I'm going, guess I'm not talking. Guess I'm not speaking. It's like, fuck off. But, it's like dangling this carrot, and let's compromise your values. And I have friends, oh, you should have just done it because you would have gotten to talk. I'd go, no, because had I made a mistake signing that piece of paper, you had to know all these. And if you made a mistake, you could be arrested for a hate crime. Like, for real? Yeah. Oh, Canada, what the fuck? Yeah, it was kind of mind blowing. And that is the kind of misunderstanding that's going on between the masculine and feminine. And people say, well, the men come after. No, actually, the men don't come after me. Most of the men that I deal with are very respectful of my work. In fact, I'd have to say the haters are the women, because they don't want to hear it. I'm not going to get on a hate train and hate men. That whole movement of Me Too, I call it Me Tool, because I'm not getting on that. To say, believe all women, that is absurd as saying that all men, because they have penises, are rapists. It's bullshit. And, by the way, the head of the Satanic Cabal happens to be a woman. And in my tours all over the planet, all over the world, regarding sex camps, trafficking centers, they're run by women. women sell their fucking children. You know, they sell body parts or their fetuses. It's fucking disgusting. And this is just this is a tip of the iceberg that, you know, is within the matrix world. Is this unbelievable unconscious greed, evil. I mean, you know, there's no other way to see it. And I know a lot of people go, well, you know, it's entrepreneurship. Yeah, I get it. Okay. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that I've had to like really work through, because it was one of the ways that I stayed trapped in the matrix, in my fucking rage, in my upset, in my disgust, and my righteous indignation. And this is what I discovered. And things started really changing in terms of me going stealth and walking in and out of the matrix undetected and getting to do my work, expanding things in a much more smooth way, no drama, etc. Is that I had to get good with the law of allowing. And the law of allowing is this: in and out of the matrix, everybody has the right to exist and be different from you. It's so mind-blowing, because I was going, no, they're not. 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 They don't have the right to exist. Fucking kill them all. Yeah. And what I was doing with that is I was actually growing that evil with my disgust. I was contributing to its growth by pushing up against it. And once I just, I just saw the folly of my thinking, my feeling, and the actions that I was taking. And so what I've done is I've extricated myself from that whole thing, that whole attitude. And it's true. I have every right to be as I am, different from everybody else. And everybody has that right too. Even the Satanists. I don't like it. I don't fucking like it. But I accept it with caution, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Well, that's where education comes in, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to pass a law and be like, you're not allowed to do this by threat of violence,
Yeah.
you know, violence
Yeah.
to prevent violence or
Yes.
what have you. So let's kind of, if you don't mind, I have a final question.
Sure.
And I don't know if Aaron has anything else to add, but my question is to you, your experience with getting out of statism, this belief in the existence of government, the belief in slavery, as you call it, and I call it, and I wrote a book about it and all that. And so how long were you a statist, and how did you get out of that mentality for yourself?
I just started doing my own thing. I have virtually not had a job since I was 21 because I'd gotten fired. And so the way I do my life is like there's an ebb and flow of and I've gotten into a lot of trouble with the powers that be, with their various shitsomes. They have come after me, and I'm above reproach. I'm not doing anything wrong, you know? And everything that I do goes back to service. So they can just all kiss my ass. So, but when I did get into trouble, what I was doing was I was once again pushing up against the powers that want to be, pushing up against banking, pushing up against this and that, and irritating the matrix. And so what I just did is I just stopped participating in certain things, which takes a lot of it takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of finesse. It takes a lot of, because I mean, you're basically standing alone. Most people think in my inner circle think I'm fucking insane. And it's like, whatever, you know, I don't know what else to say, but I'm not doing anything that's going to harm people. I'm not harming myself. I have just chosen to not participate in certain things that I just don't believe in, you know. And do I have to justify it? No. And what's happened, because I used to get so worried about all kinds of shit, but hey, once you've had run-ins, run-ins and audits and shit like that, you're not afraid of anything. It's like, whatever, because guess what? Nothing bad happened. It's just one of those things where you have to decide what your values are, what you're going to participate in, what doesn't feel good to you, what feels good to you, and then you have to commit. And it is a commitment. It is a commitment. And unfortunately, most of the people that I know, their whole thing is about following the rules. And it's like, no, I'm not following these rules. These rules are bullshit. I'm not going to have my life hijacked by keeping every fucking piece of paper that comes my way. I'm not going to do that. Okay. And, it sort of come about where I just learned early on that I have better things that I want to focus in on. So I'm not going to conform. I'm not like, I'm in charge of my medical stuff. I do homeopathy. I do Ayurveda. I'm not part of the medical system. I don't have health insurance. I don't give a shit. I pay my own way. That's what I do. And, and then of course, being a quote unquote senior, like my friends are like going, well, what about this? What about that? And just do this and da da da. And I'm like going, no, thanks. This whole thing with that 7-19, the COVID, right? The checks, quote unquote. I didn't take any of that fucking shit. No fucking way. No, I'm not participating. I don't participate in that. I'm not. I know people who did it, who claim this and that, and they took it. I'm not one of those people. I endeavor to walk my talk. And, and does it have a cost? Absolutely. I've been arrested. I've lost my driver's license. It's like, did it stop me from not driving? Of course not. You have shit to do, but you don't bring attention to yourself. You just do what you do. Right. And there you go. It is what it is. I got to say, what was fucking maddening is that before the COVID hit, I was living in Europe and I was back and forth promoting the second edition of my book. So I did all these like book things all over Europe, EU, non-EU, all over the Middle East, Central Asia, and oh my God. So of course, it was almost like they knew the shit was going down. Of course they did. They knew it was going down because all of a sudden my work visas are terminated. And I'm in the middle of like, redoing all this stuff. And so what ends up happening is, and of course, you got to renew your passport. I need to be able to travel. I mean, I travel. I've been to over 100 countries. You got to fucking do that shit. Otherwise, you miss out on the beauty of this planet and the beauty of all the different people who don't know about fucking CNN. They don't know about any of this shit. And their eyes are bright. They're beautiful, happy, creative people living off the land. Oh my God. So where I was going with this before I got sidetracked is they had my passport. I didn't get my passport for a year, over a fucking year. They couldn't find it. They said, oh yeah, we got the renewal. Oh, of course, you took my money. Hello, you took my money, and they couldn't find it. They lost all of my old stuff, and I get my passport over a year later. And that was so unnerving for me to feel like, oh my God, I'm fucking stuck. I'm stuck. And then it just miraculously appears, after I forget about it. But that was unnerving for me because I like traveling, I do. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and me too. I mean, it's an adventure of knowledge when you certainly escape the Matrix, because
Yeah,
instead of being confined in one box, you're like, wow, it's a
yeah.
whole world to see.
There's a whole world, and I'm not one of those people. I'm not staying at a fucking 5-star hotel, so I can just it's just like I don't relate. So I'm in the sticks. I'm in the sticks. I don't have makeup on. I wear the same clothes basically. There's just so much beauty, and there's so much starkness of making sure you walk in a way where you don't slip on caribou shit. That just happens to be fucking everywhere. It's disgusting, but it's part of it's part of travel. It's like, yeah, you're not in your domain. You are not in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And
You'll see all
especially if they
sorts of
don't
things when you
speak the
travel.
English. If they
Yeah.
don't speak the English, you could be in trouble.
Yeah.
So
There's symbology everywhere
Right.
I think you can find.
yes.
So thank you for joining us. We've hit about an hour or so. Is there any final comments you'd like to say, or Aaron, if you have any last things you want to say?
Thank you both for doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like totally awesome. And I want to apologize that I responded so late, because something told me look in spam, and I'm like going, whoa.
Yeah.
So I listen to my intuition, because when I'm missing something, and especially something that is in alignment, where there's an invitation to interface and merge our respective layers of the universe, there is a ding that happens, and I'm glad I listened, because I was getting ready. Let's just delete spam. I would have never known. I would have never known. So yeah. So thank you.
Awesome.
And so I hope everybody finds this helpful. I've got a cheat sheet that
Mhm.
comes.
Be sure to check out the downloadable resource. You provide a
Yeah.
really cool sheet that basically summarizes everything you talked about. So that
Yeah.
makes it really helpful. And if people want to see a lot more of your work, they can go to lovetruthandbeauty.com.
Yeah,
Love,
and or you
truth,
can find
and
me on the
beauty.
YouTube, and I'm on all the other alternative platforms as
On
well.
YouTube, what's your name? It's just Marlia
It's Love,
West.
Truth, and Beauty.
Love, Truth, and Beauty. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. Be sure to check it out. And if anybody wants to see a lot more speakers like this, go to nita.one/summit. nita.one/summit. This is the end of Slavery Summit. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.